Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome to the Old Orion podcast. Today's episode features a real police investigation that may have had some assistance from beyond the grave. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions. Let's get started. It's Halloween night 2004 in Napa, California. Trick-or-treaters lined the street going door to door asking for candy. In a two-story house sitting on a quiet neighborhood in Dorset Street, three young women entered that night early after handing out candy. The roommates, having no other plans, went their respective ways. Two of them went upstairs, while the third went to her downstairs bedroom. The stillness of the night was interrupted by a loud struggle upstairs. Jolted awake, the terrified downstairs roommate took a second to compose herself, realizing that something was really wrong. Suddenly, an ear-piercing scream rang through the house, followed by quick footsteps heading downstairs. In a split second, she sprinted in a panic to the backyard, expecting the intruder to follow her. But when she realized that whoever broke into the home was not after her, she quickly returned inside. She noticed that the intruder came in through a ground-level window and escaped the same way, narrowly missing her. She dashed upstairs to check on her roommates. After making her way into one of the bedrooms, she slipped and fell on something wet that covered the floor. Then, the horrifying realization set in. The floor was soaked in blood. What she found in that bedroom will make you rethink if your home defense system is actually armed. Lauren Mianza, 27 at the time, a volleyball coach for the local community college, and Adrian Insomnia, 26, an engineer for the Napa sanitation district, lived together in a two-story house on Dorset Street, close to downtown Napa. According to friends and family, it's a beautiful place to reside, and both the roommates loved living there. After some time, they added a third roommate, 26-year-old Leslie Mazzara. The three were inseparable and cohabited really well. Adrian's best friend, Lily, would often hang out with them. Lily had recently gotten engaged, but had to call it off because her fiancé was having problems with alcohol abuse. She was initially set to get married on November 1st, 2004. On Halloween night 2004, the three roommates handed out candy as planned, then called it a night early, no later than 11 p.m. Adrian and Leslie went to sleep upstairs, while Lauren retired to her bedroom downstairs. Sometime after 1 a.m., an intruder came in through the ground floor window. Unbeknownst to Lauren, the intruder then entered Leslie's room and brutally attacked her in her sleep. Adrian, likely having heard the commotion, went to see what was going on in the other room. The killer and Adrian fought viciously, and despite fighting a brave battle, Adrian was soon overpowered. The killer stabbed both women multiple times, leaving behind a gruesome scene. As the killer left the scene, Lauren escaped outside to the backyard, where she expected the intruder to follow her and kill her. Shortly after, she realized that she wasn't being followed, and then she rushed upstairs to find both her roommates in Adrian's room. Leslie was motionless, but Adrian was barely clinging on to life. Fearing the killer might come back to finish the job, Lauren left the house in a panic. Lauren wanted to help Adrian, but she didn't know how. She grabbed her dog Chloe, got in her car, and left the scene while calling 911 for help on her cell phone. Reportedly, dispatchers told Lauren to go back to the house, which is strange. But when Lauren returned, police and paramedics were arriving. Adrian was shortly pronounced dead. Police at the scene were baffled. There has not been a murder in Napa for years, let alone a double homicide. Promptly, police got to work, right away combing through the house looking for clues. They found blood on the blinds of the downstairs window, where presumably the killer used to enter and exit the house. They also found a couple of cigarette butts outside the residence. None of the women were smokers, and now police had the killer's DNA. However, they had no suspect to match it to. The police suspected that the killer had to have known the victims. The brutal scene suggested that the attack was full of rage and it was personal. Police were initially convinced that this was a crime of passion, maybe a disgruntled boyfriend with a broken heart, but it wasn't clear at the beginning. The police interviewed several suspects, including sex offenders in the area. But lead after lead, the case soon went cold. In the weeks that followed, Lauren, grief-stricken and traumatized from the incident, was suffering from survivor's guilt. Both her close friends were killed, and the police were no closer to finding the person responsible for such a heinous act. In an interesting turn of events, a friend of Lauren named Allie suggested that they meet with a pair of psychics from the LA area, Michael and Marty Perry. The pair worked as a team, Michael being the medium, and Marty being a sketch artist. So, Allie sits with them, and allegedly she tells the pair of psychics nothing about the murders prior to beginning. During the session, Michael appears to enter a trance where he claims to communicate with the two murdered women, describing details about the murder. Having established some credibility, a month after the murders, the Perrys set up a phone reading with Detective Kirk Primo of the Napa Police Department and Lauren. Michael then enters another trance and attempts to communicate with Adrian and Leslie. Then things get weird. Michael begins to describe things that were not released to the public. He stated that he saw a female officer enter the room, and for some reason, whether she didn't want to be in the room or she couldn't handle it, she stepped outside. Surprised by the level of detail that Michael was describing, Detective Kirk stated that Michael was telling the truth. At the same time, Marty was busy drawing a portrait on a sketch pad of a white man with a goatee. Detective Kirk adds the sketch to the police file in hopes that it may be helpful in the investigation. In the upcoming months, police interview dozens of suspects, in and out of state. Leslie and Adrian had connections to different states, so it took several police departments working in unison to interview and request voluntary DNA samples from all the male suspects. It took several weeks for the DNA results to start coming back, but unfortunately, none of the samples were a match for the DNA found at the scene. Having few workable leads, Detective Kirk sets up an in-person meeting with the psychics in Napa. Lauren, the surviving roommate, was present during this interview. During the in-person session, Michael once again enters a trance, trying to establish communication with the murdered women. Michael suddenly asks Lauren about a person named Lily. Lauren, confused and with chills running down her spine, can only think of one person, Lily Prudhomme, Adrian's best friend. Police initially dismissed it as possibly Adrian trying to communicate with Lily, and they didn't pay much attention to it. Moving forward, Lauren had to excuse herself from the session because the next step was for the psychics to visit the home in an attempt to find more clues. As Detective Kirk and the Perrys arrived at the two-story house where the brutal scene took place, Michael proceeded into the house and made his way straight upstairs. As he's moving, Michael began to describe in great detail aspects of the investigation that were incredibly accurate, such as where blood had been found, the position of the bodies, and even a splatter of blood on the front steps. After the visit, Detective Kirk went back to work. Except this time, after hearing from the psychics the name Lily, Detective Kirk took a closer look at any possible connections that Lily may have to the case. What stood out to Detective Kirk was Lily's fiancé, Eric Koppel. Eric was a land surveyor and had done some work on the house. Leaving no stone left unturned, Detective Kirk took a closer look at the sketch drawing that Marty had made. To his surprise, the sketch resembled Eric Copel. The detective realized that Eric had not been interviewed yet, and a DNA sample had also not been collected. However, Detective Kirk was being rotated to other duties, so he had to pass on the investigation to an incoming detective. On an episode of Psychic Investigators, Detective Kirk states that he made a checklist for the incoming detective taking over the case, specifically to follow up with Eric, but for some reason, Eric was never interviewed. Almost a year after the murders on September 2005, with Halloween fast approaching, tips were drying up, and police were facing increased community pressure to solve the case. This led to Napa Police Department to release to the press previously held back information in hopes this would pressure the killer into thinking that the police was closing in. The expectation was that this would create new leads. The press reported that a couple of cigarette butts from a specific brand were recovered at the scene and that DNA testing indicated that it matched the killer's blood left behind at the scene. Then, police got the break they were looking for. A man had turned himself in for the murders of Leslie and Adrian 5 days after the information was made public. The man was Eric Copel, Lily Prudhomme's now husband. During interrogation, Eric explained to the police the reason for the murders when he turned himself in. He explained that he had trouble with alcohol abuse, which was the reason Lily had previously called off their engagement. Eric was convinced that Adrian was the reason Lily called off the engagement. Drunk and in a fit of rage, Eric grabbed a knife and headed to their home. The intended target was Adrian. Eric also explained that he smoked a couple of cigarettes before breaking and entering and murdering the 2 women. Eric did go on to marry Lily. At the wedding, Adrian's mom was in attendance, completely unaware that just a couple feet from her was the killer of her daughter Adrian. Police charged Eric with 2 counts of first-degree murder, facing the death penalty. It wouldn't be until January 2007 that Eric Copel saw the inside of a courtroom. As a deal with District Attorney, he pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for dropping the death penalty. He was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. The sentencing hearing, while everybody grieves in their own way, Adrian's mom was devastated and delivered a powerful victim impact statement. To everyone's surprise, Lily spoke as well, stating that she still loved Eric and that the man that committed such a brutal crime is not the man they see today. Eric also spoke at his sentencing, but few people believed that he showed true remorse. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Older I Am podcast. If you liked today's episode, please leave a review, and don't forget to visit our socials. Until next time, stay safe.